Let's have a look at your next choice. It looks complicated.
Yes.
Looking at that, but it's easily explained, I think. What do those letters stand for?
Well, they were told to me, these initials, when I first went and visited the grand country, God's Eye, as they call it, of Australia in 1981. And they call, what they call the Australian question intonation. The way when they speak, everything sounds as if it's a question. All the time. Though it isn't, in fact, a question. It's actually a statement. It's rather confusing when you ask someone directions, you want to turn left? And then turn right.
It must be awkward at their wedding ceremonies as well, when you say, I do.
In and of itself, and in Australia, and indeed particularly on the west coast of America, where it's a particularly female way of talking, you know, my name is Mandy, and I want to be class president, and they go up at the end also. That's fine, but the trouble is, it has now invaded Britain entirely. I barely know anybody under 20 who doesn't use it when they're talking to you. It sort of goes with the kind of people who go, whatever. It's not good enough.
Why is this happening?
I think it's Buffy talk, it's Sabrina the Teenage Witch talk, it's Fox for Kids and Trouble TV. It's the language of the Sunny Delight generation, isn't it? I don't know, you know, I at first thought it came from just too much watching of Neighbours.
This thing is described as a reluctance to make a definite statement in case you offend or sound to be too sure yourself and therefore too clever.
I don't know that that's really it. I mean, admittedly, it's certainly not an assertive way of speaking. It's nice to think we have a generation of wonderfully unassertive and non-cocky and young individuals. But a quick look out the window in the street, and I think you'll find we haven't.
Yes.
Sorry to be the one to break you the news.
Yes.
We've got a lot of things.
Soap operas, I mean, maybe, you know, as you say, this could well be the Neighbours or the Buffy shows and stuff. There was, Joan Collins claimed in the 80s that shoulder pads came back because of Dynasty, because that was very much a fashion in Dynasty, wasn't it? And when, I don't know if you remember Crossroads, when Amy Turtle, of course, was in Crossroads, suddenly old people kept bumping into scenery and, and forgetting where they were.
They're like that. Of course, Australians are, I was talking to an Australian not long ago, an older Australian, and he said that in the Australian accent it's got irritating to older people because they have this strange diphthong, this oi noise, whereas they used to go, oh no, what's happened? They now go, oh my. And it was the weirdest sound. They're just putting ois and everything. And there's actually, I saw on Australian television, there was this extraordinary stuff called Doc Vinyl. And it was in the sort of remoter outposts of Western Australia, vinyl furniture is considered rather racy and rather good. And so it's worth advertising on television, this glue that mends your ripped vinyl. There's a shot of a leatherette banquette. And a rip suddenly appears in it, and a voice off camera went, oi, my! And then Doc Vinyl magically goes down the rip and it's mended. But so Australians have their own cross to bear. Their accent is getting... and I don't mind language developing, the way people talk develops, of course it does, and the slang changes and things like that. But this way of talking, I just, hate it. It's just sort of like go. Well, like, that's the other thing. You see, like is most peculiar. There was a time in the 60s when people would say like in a sort of like man, you know, it's like really man, like this. But now like means said, doesn't it? I was like, excuse me? And he was like, can I sit here? And I was like, no way. So he was like, my name's Tom. And I was like, well, my name's Steve. And he was like, why? I said, well, what? He was like that. Let's write that down. He was like, my name's Tom. You can't write it down, there's no punctuation.
But maybe these sort of things happen sort of through language and then they pass through. There used to be a time, I don't know if people still say it now, I haven't heard anybody say this for years, but very much in the sort of like the environment I grew up in, people would say things like, I went down to the pub the other day and this bloke turned round to me and he said, have you got the time? And I turned round to him and he turned round to me. And it's just like these spinning tops.
It's funny stuff. It's always one of the great stories when people have arguments. You can't turn around to me and tell me that, well, no, I won't, I'm facing the right way. You can't turn around and tell me that. It's very odd, that one, isn't it?
Well, I think this is one, again, I might put to the audience. Let's see what the general feel is here. Put your hand up if you find it deeply irritating. Oh, yeah, it looks pretty good. And if you don't mind it at all, put your hand up. Well, I think it's deeply irritating wins, doesn't it? Then? So, well, I think it's got to go in the room 101.
Yeah. Thank you.